Welcome back to Montana this morning. The time is 6:44. More clouds over Billings this morning. It is 57 degrees downtown right now. Miles City and Livingston right in that same neighborhood. Well, this morning we're recapping last night's primary election results. In Montana's four-way Republican U.S. Senate contest, State Auditor Matt Rosendale came out on top and will face Democratic incumbent Jon Tester this fall. MTM's Mike Dennison was with Rosendale last night and files this report.
As expected, Matt Rosendale captured the Republican nomination Tuesday to take on Democratic U.S. Senator Jon Tester this fall. But it was far from a cakewalk. Former State District Judge Russell Fagg of Billings jumped to an early lead last night with a big showing in his home county of Yellowstone. But Rosendale clawed his way back, taking the lead shortly after 10 p.m. and slowly pulling away the rest of the evening. He ended the night with about 34% of the vote to Fagg's 29%, and then took aim at Tester in his victory speech.
Jon Tester has become part of that corrupt system back in Washington, D.C. He's hanging out with the lobbyists and the elitists. He has literally bought a home in Washington and moved to Washington.
Tester is considered one of the more vulnerable Democratic incumbents in the nation as he runs for re-election in a state that Donald Trump won by 20 points. Tester's camp didn't waste any time going after Rosendale, calling him an East Coast developer who looks out for himself. The two men are scheduled for their first debate June 17th in Whitefish. Rosendale made it clear that he'll campaign as a Trump Republican.
We need to send President Trump some conservative reinforcements who will end the liberal obstruction and work with him to pass his agenda of making America great again.
And that he's in the business of cutting rather than utilizing government.
Folks, I am not running in this race to bring home the bacon. I am running this race to slaughter the hog of big government.
As Matt Rosendale said himself Tuesday night, the hard part is just beginning as he tries to take down Democratic U.S. Senator Jon Tester this fall. But there won't be much doubt about where he stands on the issues or the contrast between these two candidates. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Big Sky businessman Troy Downing and State Senator Al Olszewski of Kalispell finished third and fourth in the GOP primary. The U.S. Senate race also will have a Libertarian candidate on the ballot this fall. For the Green Party, Steve Kelly will advance to the November election. Russ Vec conceded around midnight last night. We caught up with him for his thoughts on the campaign.
It's been a terrific campaign. I've really enjoyed it. I met a whole bunch of wonderful people. The outpouring of support has been amazing, and I told you before, I am just incredibly grateful, and I still feel incredibly grateful. It's been a wonderful adventure, and I'm really glad I jumped into it.
Vec said before last night's election, the party will need to unify and rally behind whoever was chosen to take on Tester. On to the U.S. House race. It was a close call all night long for Democrats John Heenan of Billings and Kathleen Williams from Bozeman. But in the end, Williams brought in the most votes, defeating Heenan by just 1%. Land Trust Director Grant Keir of Missoula came in third place. Bozeman's Kathleen Williams never did declare victory Tuesday night as the race remained too close to call, but leading by about 1,600 votes at 2 a.m., she did talk about continuing her campaign in the fall. MTN's Medeiros Bob has a story.
The night started over at the Rialto Theater, but ended here at Plonk, where it was an exciting time for Kathleen Williams.
So I love it, and thank you, Montana.
Even though Williams was thought to be the underdog coming into this race, she never doubted the power of her supporters.
And we're so thrilled to be the nominee and ready to move forward in the general election against Gianforte.
Williams says the next journey begins by fixing what she believes is broken.
It's about fixing health care, it's about fostering opportunity, it's about returning civil dialogue and integrity to a broken Congress, it's about protecting our environment and outdoor heritage, and it's about rebuilding our place in the world.
Williams plans on keeping her same campaign strategy moving into the general election against Gianforte. In Bozeman, Medeiros Babb, MTN News.
John Heenan's campaign party at the Billings Depot kicked off to huge cheers when the Yellowstone County numbers came in, making him the early frontrunner. But as the night went on and Kathleen Williams edged ahead, the party ended without the victory speech the crowd was hoping to hear. Before heading home, Heenan told MTM's Zoe Zandora that no matter the outcome, this race is about beating the incumbent Greg Gianforte.
Kathleen's a good friend, and all my friends here in the Democratic primary, any one of them would be a better representative than the representative we have now.
The tight race for the Montana House Democratic primary left Grant Keir on the outside looking in, but he says he will support who beat him and encourages his supporters to do the same. It was a modest turnout at the public house in downtown Missoula for Keir's election night party, mostly filled by close family and friends. He spoke to the crowd, thanking them for their support through a long campaign.
If we want a brighter future for our state and our nation, we have to send a new representative to Congress. It will not be easy. Montana needs a representative who understands the struggles that so many Montanans are facing across our state right now, every single day. We need someone who understands that decisions in Washington can really mean the difference between life and death for people here in Montana.
Moving on now to the race for Yellowstone County Commissioner. Billings State Representative Donald Jones is looking to add county commissioner to his political resume. Jones brought in 57% of the votes, while Mike Black finished off with 43%. Jones advances to face Democrat Robin Driscoll in November. Driscoll was appointed to the commission to fill the remaining term of Bill Kennedy, who stepped down to take over as director of the MSU Billings Foundation. In the race for Yellowstone County Auditor, Republican Scott Turner brought in the most votes over Matt Rich, also a Republican. Turner was appointed to the position last year after Debbie Hernandez retired. He will face Democrat Becky Reidel in November. In the race to fill the seat of Yellowstone County District Court Judge, Department 7, Colette Davies took a huge lead over the other 4 candidates. Coming in second was Thomas Party. Those top 2 vote-getters will advance to face off in November. And in the judicial race for Department 8, Julie Pierce has a 20% lead over Ashley Harada. They will both advance to meet again in November. Now on to the Montana State Senate races. In District 22, Democrat Jennifer Marecki will face off against Republican Doug Carey in November. She defeated the other Democratic candidate last night, David Graves. In District 19, it was a close race between 2 of the 3 Republican candidates, Kenneth Bogner and Jerry Schillinger, but Bogner came out on top and will challenge Mary Zeiss in November. In District 29, David Howard had 61% of the votes over Andrew Forcer, who brought in 39%. Howard will advance to face off against Betsy Scalene. Switching our focus now to the Montana House races. In District 35, Joel Crowder was the voter favorite with 54% of the votes, defeating Tanya Roast, who wasn't too far behind with 46%. There will be no Democratic opponent for this race in November. In House District 46, Bill Mercer had a huge lead over Josiah Loven with an almost 1,700 vote lead. In November, Mercer will face off against Democrat Ann Giuliano. In House District 49, Emma Kerr Carpenter defeated Terry Bauk, bringing in more than double the amount of votes. Kerr Carpenter advances to the November election against Republican Stephanie Kruger. In House District 50, Jade Bear won last night's Democratic primary against Joshua Bradshaw. Bear will go up against Republican Quentin Eggert this fall. For House District 52, Democrat Emilio Marquez defeated fellow Democrat Dusty Deering. Marquez goes on to the general election. And in that same House district, the Republicans also had 2 candidates face off last night. Rodney Garcia will meet Marquez in the next election as he defeated Deborah Rowe. And the last House district for this morning, 56, where Jana Lind has 78% of votes, defeating Dan Gold. Lind will go on to face Republican Sue Benton. In the race for Stillwater County Sheriff and Coroner, Charles Chip Kim, the county's current undersheriff and deputy coroner, is on the path to a promotion. The county's voters gave him a 750 vote lead over Gary Tim. Meanwhile, in Carbon County, in the race for county commissioner, District 1, Robert Pitts Dearman brought in 36% of votes over the other 9 candidates. Coming in second was Gordon Serene with 15%. Both Dearmond and Serene will meet in November to decide who will represent the Bridger area. In District 2, Joliet, Scott Blaine and Joanne Blyton will advance to the November election. Gary Gray finished third. And in District 3, Red Lodge, Scott Baggio and Bill Bullock will meet again in the November election. Usually only one of the county commission seats is up for grabs during any one election year, but this year, due to resignation and death, all 3 of the positions are up for grabs. On top of all the statewide politics, some Montana news from Washington, D.C. Attorney General Jeff Sessions will fly into Bozeman this week. Sessions will address the Montana Police Protective Association this Thursday, June 7th at the Best Western plus Grand Tree Inn. A press release sent out Tuesday night did not go into details on the topics Sessions will address, but it says Sessions will speak at 2:40 p.m. at the Grand Tree in the Madison Lewis Clark meeting room. Meanwhile, in Yellowstone National Park, a second woman at the same location in just 3 days is now recovering after an accidental elk encounter. A cow elk with a calf nearby attacked 53-year-old Penny Barrett from Cypress, Texas on Tuesday morning behind the Mammoth Hot Springs Hotel. Barrett attempted to back away, but the elk pursued and struck her with its legs in the head and torso. Barrett was taken by ambulance to Livingston Memorial Hospital. It is common for cow elk to aggressively defend newborn calves and hide them near buildings and cars.